Today, we're diving into a really harrowing account from a man who goes by one name, the buyer. He details years of what he says are systematic crimes that happened inside a German penal psychiatry unit, a place he calls Blacksite, Berlin. And what he uncovered is just staggering.
So let's just start with a number, 450. 450 years. Now that's not just some random number pulled out of thin air. According to the buyer's own research into his case files in German law, that's the potential prison time for a crime he says was committed against him over and over again for 4 straight years. And here it is, right here. This is the absolute core of what the buyer discovered. The quote says it all. Every single injection constitutes aggravated assault, each punishable by up to 10 years in prison. He came to realize that the treatment he was forced to take was actually, in his view, a long series of serious crimes. So how did he get to this point? Well, to really get it, we have to go back to the very beginning. Okay, Section 1, the first assault. The way the buyer tells it, his whole ordeal kicked off on his very last day in isolation. And this one event, well, it basically set the tone for the next 4 years. So picture this. 9 orderlies walk into his room. He's physically held down, restrained, and then comes the threat. If you resist next time, it will always be like this. And then, bang, they give him the first injection by force. You know, from his perspective, this wasn't about medicine. It was a show of force, a power play designed to make him too scared to ever fight back again. And this quote, wow, it really gets to the heart of the psychological damage. It was like isolation inside my head. Think about that. He's saying the assault wasn't just on his body. It was an invasion of his very mind, his spirit. The one place he thought he was safe, his own thoughts, had been breached. Right, so after that first incident, it wasn't a one-time thing. This led to what he describes as 4 years of chemical torture. He was put on this relentless schedule of high-dose antipsychotics, a period he literally calls 4 years of hell. And look at the choice he was given. It was basically a choice of poisons. First, it was Haldol, which he called the zombie drug. You can see the side effects: drooling, muscle cramps, this horrible inner restlessness. So when he complained, what did? Did they help him? Nope. They just switched him over to Risperdal, and that came with a whole new menu of horrors, like muscle atrophy, gaining 40 kilos, and even chemical castration. Eventually, they switched him again, this time to a drug called Xeplion. Now you might think, oh, maybe that's better. But all it really did was change the schedule. Instead of an injection every 2 weeks, it was every 4. The actual daily suffering from the side effects? He says that didn't change one bit. The misery was just constant. Okay, so if the drugs themselves weren't bought enough, there was another layer to this. The buyer claims that the way the injections were given was so careless, so incompetent, that every single time was like playing Russian roulette. He literally describes it as a game of Russian roulette because he never knew what was going to go wrong this time. I mean, look at this list. Air injected into his muscle. A nerve getting struck, which he said caused days of just unbelievable pain. Disinfectant being pushed into the wound. Or just getting the injection way too fast, causing pain for ages. He even talks about one orderly trying and failing 6 times just to draw blood. Every single injection was an act of terror, both for his body and his mind. So, after 4 long years of this, the medication finally stopped. And it was only after it was all over that he got his hands on his own medical file. And what he found in there, well, it changed everything. This is the moment he discovered the truth. Let's just walk through this timeline, because this is the bombshell. In 2019, the forced medication starts, and it's backed by a court order. Okay, legal. But here's the kicker. Just 6 weeks later, that court order expired. It was done. But the injections, they kept coming for over 4 more years, all the way until 2023, when he finally gets his file and sees it in black and white. Every shot he got after those first 6 weeks had no legal justification whatsoever. And here's how they apparently covered it up. The official file says, and I quote, "The forced medication had long since expired and he took the medication voluntarily." But the buyer's reality? He says, "I was always told I had no choice and I protested every single time." A total contradiction. So this brings up a massive question, right? What does German law have to say about something like this? Well, the law is actually incredibly clear. We're talking about Section 224 of the German Criminal Code, aggravated assault.
This isn't about simple malpractice. This is for bodily harm that's inflicted under dangerous circumstances, like with poison, or what the law calls a life-endangering treatment. And when you administer a powerful substance without any legal right to do so, well, that fits the bill. So let's break down why, from the buyer's perspective, every single one of those injections was a felony. First, it involved a harmful substance. Check. Second, it was a life-endangering treatment given without his consent. Check. Crucially, it was done without a valid court order. Check. And finally, it was often done by multiple people acting together. Check again. According to him, they hit all the criteria, not just once, but every single time.
And this is where we get back to that number from the beginning, 450. You just do the math. He calculates there were at least 45 illegal injections. The penalty for each one is up to 10 years in prison. You multiply that out, and you get a potential sentence of over 450 years. The scale of it is just mind-blowing. So after all this, what's his conclusion? What does he think was really going on? This quote says it all. It's a business where psychologists and the pharmaceutical industry enrich themselves. The mentally ill have no advocates. For him, this wasn't about care or a system that made a mistake. He sees it as a predatory business model, a system designed to profit from people who have no one to speak up for them.
So we've laid out the entire story as the buyer has documented it through his own words and his own legal research, which leaves us with this one final massive question, a question that just hangs over this entire story. When the facts, as he presents them, seem to establish a crime that went on for years, why do the perpetrators face no consequences? That's the question. And for now, there's no answer.